I am talking with one of my favourite authors, Graham Sclater, from the UK, who has a brand new book out called Cowboys and Angels. Graham, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks, Lee. Yeah, doing well. The book's doing really well, like all of them. But this, it's every new one is it's your new baby, and you you want to make sure that people like it and do buy it.
Now, every one of your books has the same thing going on with the title, and that is, it's a piece of music. It's the title of a track. This one is a George Michael track, if I'm not mistaken.
You're dead right. I'll tell you very quickly why. I had originally a Small Faces track, and I can't think of the song, but there's a musical going around the UK at the moment, All or Nothing it is, and that was going to be the title, which would fit in with the actual story in the book, but because they're doing these shows around the theatres, and it's a mod sort of musical based on the Small Faces time, I didn't think that I should use that title. And when George Michael died at Christmas, not that many months, what's it, almost a year ago now, died at Christmas, I'll always love that song. In fact, I had it on a cassette, which I couldn't play anymore, but I always remember it, and it was a beautiful song and brilliant lyrics. So as I was getting towards the end of the book around about Christmas last year, I thought, yep, that's got to be the title. And I actually wrote several chapters, which gave me the Angels as well.
Oh, right. Okay. Now, I've only sort of scanned the book. But once again, with your books, it's location that's one of the most important things. I mean, part based in Cyprus, part based in Dartmoor. You must do so much research on these places. I mean, okay, Dartmoor's not that difficult to do, but Cyprus, I mean, it's not only the actual location, but the time frame in which it is. That must have taken some work.
Well, it does. I mean, I'm glad you said that. Not everyone appreciates that. They just think it's a book, and they're just reading it, and they buy and read a book a week, and on to the next. But yes, it takes a hell of a lot of time. I mean, I went to Cyprus many times just to get. I was over there initially on a holiday with some musician friends of mine who live there, and they took me around out to the places that a lot of the tourists and holiday makers didn't go to. So I fell in love with it, and then I decided to write something, which I've done obviously now, 4 years on, which is set over there. But you can't just do that. You've got to go back. You've got to get the streets. You've got to get the locations. You've got to get the food, the feel, the whole thing, and also a timeline, because whilst most people go there in the summer, you need to be there at Christmas. You need to be there in the winter to know what actually these places are like. And once you've done that, you can then build that into the story and build your plot lines through it.
Now, that once again must be very difficult, because you have to research into the history. And sometimes, I know, especially with Cyprus, that they guard their history quite a lot.
Oh, yeah, they do. Well, I mean, bearing in mind that Paphos Airport hasn't been there that long. And I can remember seeing Makarios on the TV, which wasn't that long ago. And they had they had terrorists, didn't they, over there, blowing places up. And the British were there, and we were fighting them. And it wasn't that long ago. I mean, it's probably, 20, 30 years ago? Maybe not many more than that.
No, and it was Turkish Cypriots versus the sort of the Cypriots, if you like, Greeks. And
that's right. And I remember when they all landed on in their parachutes.
Yes. Yeah. Scary, isn't it? We can remember that.
It is. Yeah. And they split the country. And talking to people, I didn't go up into the Turkish area, but talking to people that have, as you drive between the Greek Cypriot and the Turkish Cypriot, I mean, it's pretty bad, pretty run down. A bit like the Berlin when I went there in the 60s, between the East and the West. They just left everything as it was, even the hotels, roads, buildings, all the shell holes and everything else. But no, to get a feel, you need to research it properly. And I often have discussions with people, and I say, look, they say, well, how do you do your research? I said, well, you go there, you live it, you spend time there, you go there at different seasons of the year, because when you see it with the sunshine, like you are where you are, beautiful in the summer, but it gets colder in the winter. You could get rain. You don't always have bright 70, 80 degrees 365 days of the year. So you need to experience those different seasons and places so you can build that into the story.
Yeah. Now, the other thing, that your books are always very character driven, and Harry, your lead character, he goes through some horrendous stuff, doesn't he?
Well, he does. I mean, yes, he does. I love him, and I'll let you into a secret. I shot a video yesterday for the book, and I was talking to the director before we started filming, and I said, "Look, I'm going to do a different," because we tried to video it about 2 months ago, and it didn't work. I started to tell the story and what's on the back of the book, which really it didn't work. I was just talking and talking. It didn't work. But what triggered Harry for me? I was in the gym. I'm not a fitness guru or anything like that, but I do go to the gym maybe once a month, but swim several times a week. But I was watching this guy in the gym, and he was quite tall. He was in his late 30s, early 40s, and he really worked the machines. I mean, he was absolutely brilliant. I thought, my God, what an athlete. Now, when I came out, I had a swim, and I came out, and that guy got out of the shower. And he started drying himself off, and he had scars all over his body, on his back, his legs, his stomach. And I just sat down with my towel wrapped around me and just watched him. And I thought, that character, he's been through hell. It's obvious with all the scars. And I guessed that he'd been in the army or special forces. I didn't know, and I didn't talk to him at all. But I then remembered how good he was in the gym. And that then became Harry. That was Harry for me. And from then on, the book started to move. I could see Harry Clark, or Stryker as a lot of people called him. I could see that man being my character. So you didn't need to know too much about his past. You need to know about it, but not too much. But what you need to know is that he's come out the other end.
Yeah, you see, this is the thing, the plot twists and things like that. I love that. And I love the way that you take somebody that you've seen, that you've met, that maybe you've never even spoken to, but you build a story around that person, that character. I think that's fascinating. Yeah,
but it takes a lot of time, you see, because I talk to other writers and they say, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and by 7 o'clock I've typed 2,000 words. An average novel is 60,000 to 100,000.
Yeah.
So we're not looking at that long at 2,000 words a day. You can do it in a month if you did it every day, which some of these people do. But I couldn't, because I need to think about my characters, and I need to think about their situations, and I need to think about the detail. So if I was to just sit down and type 2,000 words, there would be no detail in it.
Yeah. Now,
it would just be a guy running here, jumping there, doing this, doing that, but no information that would guide them to the fact that they were in Cyprus.
Yeah, this is the thing. You've got a skeleton that you've got to hang the framework on. That you've got a framework and you've got to hang everything on it.
That's right, and you've got to do backstory. Again, I talk to people and I say, I know everything about Harry before he even appeared in my book. I saw that guy at the club. I then sat down and I came up with his backstory, where he went to school, his dislikes of food, his personality, the look of him, his hair, the way he dressed, all those things came and were typed up and stuck on the wall before I started writing the story. And I did that with the majority of the characters in that book, because you don't know whether they like food, you don't know whether they've got a limp, you don't know whether they're a diabetic, you don't know anything about them, what they look like, if they've got dark hair, grey hair, blonde hair, are they bald. You need to know that before you start. Otherwise, the characters, you're not going to fall in love or hate any of them.
No, because they'll just be paper. But it's so true, because it's not TV. You're having to use your imagination. And what you do especially well is stimulate people's imagination with the stories.
Yes, that's right. But what I also do for myself is I look for someone in magazines or newspapers that have the look of the character. Now, I couldn't, unfortunately, take the photograph of this guy at the club, especially having him come out of the shower. No. But what I could do was then go through magazines, scour them. I just keep looking everywhere in the supplements and the adverts and things until I see a face that is Harry. And once I've got that, then I stick that on an A4 sheet. And I do the same for all my other characters, and I pin that on the wall in front of me.
Yeah.
And then I surround myself with photographs of Cyprus and Tavistock near to where I live, so that I play Cypriot music, Greek Cypriot music. Yeah, I actually play that A friend of mine sent me a CD of local music, and I play that, and I'm looking at the pictures, and I'm typing, and I'm actually there.
Wow. Now, would it be the same with is it Malik, isn't it? The villain of the piece, if you like. Is it the same with him?
Of course. Oh yeah. Malik, I've taken them down now because I'm hoping to start on my next one. But when I'm on the cruise, I actually pass around. I speak on cruises with creative writing. I do 6 or 8 sessions a cruise, normally when we're at sea. And I actually pass an A4 sheet around and show people, because they've got the name in under, show them my sort of link to how I do my dialogue. And I pass it around, and some of these are people that they recognise. Now, I think Malik, for me, and it's not totally right because of the hair colour, was Gordon Ramsay.
Really?
Yep. Now, Gordon Ramsay's got blonde hair. Malik's got dark hair. But when you actually think how Gordon Ramsay speaks and his language and his anger and his lacking of patience with people, he was the guy. Originally, I had what they call the hotel director from the first or second cruise I did. Yeah. I'll let my dog out in a minute. He was the hotel director of the first cruise, and I was talking to people after one of my talks, and I said, I'm writing this novel about this character, blah, blah, blah. And I had a photograph of him, and I said, what? And they said, well, that's the hotel director on the ship. I said, yeah. I said, but would he fit? They said, perfect. Oh, but, of course, he was Austrian. And when I got back, I thought, I can't really use that. I'm going to have to go with Gordon Ramsay because he's not so much the language, because Malik was Iraqi, wasn't he? But and he didn't swear that much. But I had the anger where he wouldn't suffer fools gladly, and he had this inborn anger about him, and that's how I wanted Malik to be. But if you watch Gordon Ramsay, sometimes he does actually slow right down and take time to look at people and say nothing. Yeah, and that's how I have Malik, especially in the car scene. And if you've got to that yet, but
no, not yet. So don't tell me.
No, that's a brilliant. It took me ages to write that, but I've got a song playing through that, In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins, and the lyrics actually fit that scene perfectly. When you get to that scene, which you will find, put on In the Air Tonight and just listen to the words, and the words fit that scene or that chapter like it was written for it. It just works so well. And Harry plays it in the car at the time, so that's why I'm telling you. Right. But it takes ages to get but I can't really start until I've got my characters in front of me. Yeah. And I've done all the research and the backstory on each of them.
Now, Cowboys and Angels, the 7th novel, the first one being Ticket to Ride, and you're working on an 8th, aren't you, at the moment?
Yeah, well, I've got 2 options at the moment. I really have 2 options. I'm thinking of doing a sequel to Love Shack, which was set in Amsterdam. Yes. And a lot of people have said, oh, well, what happens after the fire? And I've said, well, I don't know. I'm not going to write another one. They said you ought to. So I have come up with the next part after the fire at the end of it. So I've actually got the first, second chapter sorted out, and I've got the middle and end-ish sorted out. But I'm also working on another novel called Street Life, which is about a group of buskers, and it's a world that I do understand, and I plan, if I do actually get to write it, to go out and do a bit of busking with a piano accordion, just to see how people approach me and whether they're bothered to put anything in a flipping hat or not.
Now, is it also...
or if other buskers run me out of their spot,
Yeah. Now, is it also true that you're looking at possibly doing a film script? You're looking at writing that as well?
Yes, yeah. Well, I'll let you into a secret. I've actually got 2 film scripts of screenplays and 2 TV series. Oh, and BBC Writers' Room actually are looking for new writers and material starting the 11th of December, which isn't far off now. So I've actually I've got a 3-part historical series and a film and also 2 TV series. So I will be popping them off. So I do write scripts. I started writing scripts before I actually wrote any of my novels, but I got very close. Adam Faith was going to going to do a series. He set up a company to do it, and he died. And then I worked with Central Television on the TV series for Ticket to Ride, and I got an option on that, and they paid me quite a bit of money. But then they were taken over by ITV. So, so having been close, I thought, well, look, if I write novels, then anyone can pick them up, and if they're on a plane or whatever, they pick it up and say, we like this. This would make a great film. So that's my logic for writing novels now.
Now, just to give you a little bit of a backstory as well, I knew you played Hammond organ, which is one of my favourite instruments. I love that sound. But I didn't realise you played with people such as Jimi Hendrix, Elton John, Fats Domino.
Yeah, I toured with Fats Domino. We toured Europe in 1979 for 6 weeks.
Wow.
We had one night off, and that was in Vienna, and we were going from country to country, and we had different money in our pocket, from different countries, and we were in Vienna, and we didn't actually have any Viennese, I think it was pounds or whatever they had in our pocket. And me and the guitarist, we went into this bar, which was very exclusive, sawdust on the floor, and you either had champagne or brandy. And it was it was all the models and footballers in there, and we ordered a couple of drinks each and got chatting to the barman. And then I said to Jerry, the guitarist, I said, are you paying for this? He said, I haven't got any money. Austrian shillings it was. I said, well, I've got 10 shillings, Austrian shillings, which is like nothing. So we actually did a runner. we waited until the door opened. It opened a couple of times, and I said, we've got to run. But the problem was we'd already told the barman we were playing in Vienna the following night, and we expected the police to come when we came off stage and arrest us. They didn't. But so we did it up 6 weeks. But his guitarist died on the penultimate gig, and that was in Amsterdam, which is where I set Love Shack.
Yeah,
he died from a heroin overdose, unfortunately, and so I dedicated Love Shack to him. So that's one of the reasons I wrote that novel, set it there, because I spent a lot of time there. But yeah, with Fats Domino was brilliant because he died recently, which is very sad. But then we get older. Jimi Hendrix I jammed with in Sweden in 1967 in September, and it was the night they stopped all the traffic throughout Sweden to change the side of the road that they drove on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they had one accident.
Is that it?
Yeah. All the signs, the new signs, were covered with sacks and rags and goodness knows what. And then they stopped everyone driving for 12 hours from midnight until lunchtime the next day. And then they uncovered all the signs and covered up the old ones until they removed them. I also worked with James Taylor at Apple at the Beatles place in Savile Row, routining his first album with Apple. And I spent a week with him up in the roof space working on the album. And all the Beatles' original Vox amps and things were stored up there, and the drums. And when they did their last gig, they literally went through the door in that roof to go out and do their last gig. So people say to me, did you meet them, or did you meet the Beatles? And I say, no, but I got so close,
Yeah. Look, the book. Where can we get a copy? And I mean, okay, I've got one. I'm lucky, but you've got to be able to buy it. Can you get it for Kindle and things yet?
Yeah, it's on Kindle right across the world. It's also on Amazon as a paperback. And if people are in Europe or in England, they can get it through Tabitha Books. But I would suggest that they order it through Amazon, and they can have either the Kindle or they can have the actual paperback. I prefer myself paperbacks. I do a book review every month, and I prefer paperback because I sit at the computer enough typing. So I'd rather I haven't got a Kindle or anything like that. But I use a PC rather than a laptop. But I think the best way, yes, is paperback through Amazon, and they'll get it in time for Christmas, of course. They'll get it within 2 or 3 days.
Perfect. Graham, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, as it always is. I can't wait to get the rest of the book read now. That's it. I'm going to be reading it.
And let me know when you've read it, won't you?
You betcha. All right, sir. Thank you so much. Congratulations and all the best for Cowboys and Angels, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yes, you will indeed. Thank you, Lee. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.